welcome you, ladies and gentlemen. Are you ready for the show? Let's go! What we got here? I am Wiggly. I am in the Trapdoor Mansion recording studio, and with me once again, my left hand as opposed to my right hand.
Hi, David here. Wiggs, thanks for having me. We're going to be talking about...
the game that you said that you want to talk about last week, Guerrilla War.
Yeah, Guerrilla War. Love that game.
You know what I hate about it?
Nothing?
No gorillas.
Perfect.
Where the hell are the super gorillas?
Well, one thing that's really cool about the arcade version and the Famicom version is you're playing Fidel Castro and Che. And they, for whatever, I don't know, because Nintendo's scared of anything that could be remotely controversial, removed those names from their version. But the game is true. It's very close to the actual arcade game.
Yeah, except once again, as in whatever that was, P-O-N-W, I think it had in its name. It's very difficult in the arcade, depending on the arcade attendant. Now, if you go in the back and give him a quick handy, he'll put your dip switches to a little bit better. But if you have it on the standard or hard setting, you are going to be out
You're gonna
millions.
Die. You're going to die a lot.
You're going to be out
You're going to die a
millions.
lot in Guerrilla War. Get used to it.
Here's the other thing with Guerrilla War, before we get into it. This is also by SNK.
Yes.
And this came out in 1987. And we talked about POW. That came out in 1988.
Yeah, not even close.
How do you do that?
I don't know.
Once again.
I don't know. But Guerrilla War is a brilliant game.
It's pretty good. This one was vertical.
It was vertical, yes. Enemies are crawling all over the place. They're running. They're jumping into foxholes. They're sitting on canopies, on buildings. They're throwing grenades at you. They've got guns. You got all kinds of power-ups. It's a blast to play with a second player.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, I bet.
What I really like is you can blow up tanks, and occasionally you'll be able to jump into a tank once you destroy it. And that's a blast, getting in the tank and just blowing shit up.
Yeah, so I want to just bring up making mechanics really quickly here, because way back in 1982, 5 years before we would get Guerrilla War, we had a very graphically rudimentary game where you played as a member of Devo and you fought other people from World War I called Frontline. And Frontline was created by Taito, and Frontline used a spinner knob. And I mentioned that Frontline was very hard to emulate because you had a joystick, but you had a 360-degree arm, which you also have in Guerrilla War. And you controlled that 360-degree arm with your spinner knob, as you do in the arcade version of Guerrilla War. Now, the thing with Frontline is, when you wanted to throw your grenade, which you had grenades back when you were Devo, you would push down on the spinner knob. So I had a push spinner knob where we talk about Discs of Tron. Discs of Tron had a push and pull spinner knob. So you had a middle position, an upper position, and a lower position in Discs of Tron. In Frontline is where they developed this type of mechanic where you push through to throw your limited amount of grenades. And you could also get in tanks in Frontline. And the joystick, which was up, left, up. Yeah, it was an 8-way joystick. I'm not sure if this was one of the first 8-way joysticks or not. I can't remember. 1982. That's kind of early, but I have a feeling there might have been an earlier version of an 8-way joystick. But right now it escapes me because I hyperventilated before the show. What are those things where you do a jump up in the air and then you do a push-up?
Box jumps?
Okay.
Sure, we'll run with that.
And I was also doing the side straddle hops. Shout out to all my military friends out there. Side straddle hop. Know what that is?
I don't.
It's a jumping jack. They don't call them jumping jacks in the military.
I didn't know
Side straddle hop, baby. Hey, I was in the KISS Army, so I got my Medal of Honor in that. Medal of Dishonor, because why was I cheating on Alice Cooper with KISS? 100% game. So Frontline was the precursor to Guerrilla War. Do you have any other things that were Guerrilla War-y?
There are aspects of Contra and Akiri Warriors that are very Guerrilla War-y. The stages that are set overhead.
That's true. Akari Warriors is a really good pull. But once again, made by SNK, so you can't really say, inspired it. But this one had the spinner knob. Now, I'm not sure every version of the arcade had the knob, but I got to play it with the analog knob, and I got to dial my knob in. and just was playing with that knob all night. Here's how you beat it in the arcade, friends. The interesting thing about the arcade version of Guerrilla War, if the attendant is on your side, you can put in all your quarters that you want, and then you can keep hitting the one-player button or the two-player button. You can keep hitting the one-player button, and you will see your characters across the bottom go off the screen because there's no more room for how many lives you still have left. So that's very interesting. But what's really incredible is how much like Frontline this is because of being able to get in the tanks and out of the tanks and your tanks blowing up and getting hot and things like that. Now, we see this in a lot of the other titles as well. But Guerrilla War is so almost exactly like Frontline. It's crazy, except that Frontline looks like you're playing it on the Atari 2600, whereas Guerrilla War looks like you're playing it on I don't know, a Genesis maybe, would you say?
Yeah.
A little bit above a Genesis maybe.
There are some humor aspects to Guerrilla War that I don't know that are make it a really charming game.
Yeah.
Things are blowing up all over the screen. I mean, it's crazy. There's enemies coming from everywhere. You're throwing grenades. They're throwing grenades.
And that's
There's
the thing.
tanks.
They come from the back. They come from the front.
That's right.
That's what happens
the sides,
to Frontline as
all
well.
of it.
Yep.
And you're trying to save hostages, if you can, while you're playing the game. And when you get to the villages, you'll see a man and a woman running, and you have to sort of like touch them to save them. And then oftentimes they will be followed by livestock, pigs, chickens, even mice in the game. And you're encouraged to shoot them. You get points for killing livestock.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
You get points for killing livestock. So I don't know why, but they definitely want you to eliminate all living organisms.
Well, it's a guerrilla war. Anything goes.
Anything goes.
Yeah. And you mentioned about the trenches. We didn't mention about the hostages. So you rescue hostages or you accidentally kill them.
Right.
And if you take too long to rescue them, help me, help me, help me. And there's this one ghost hostage when you're starting to go down a river and he just keeps going, help me, help me. He's nowhere.
Yeah, I don't know.
He's not anywhere. Is somebody doing a hostage call like with a duck whistle? That was the worst duck whistle.
There's that one hostage sub-level where you're in a mine and you're just saving as many hostages as possible. I don't know if you got that far.
Yeah. Oh, no, yeah, I beat the game. I'm just having a hard time recalling that. I know I did it.
Yeah.
You didn't have to go in a cave or anything, did you?
No, you get like thrown into like a train car, and it goes at a pretty high speed.
Yeah.
And you're flinging your lasso, trying to save as many hostages as possible.
Wait a minute.
Maybe in my mind, I'm mixing up the NES game with the arcade game.
Gun.smoke?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Do you mean something that you played on the iPad?
No.
I know I saw that, but I don't remember Lasso. Well, we'll have to go down and play it. We'll have to go down into the Trapdoor Mansion arcade and find out what's going on with that. But in the meantime, let's talk about what else sucks about this game as far as how hard it is, I should say. It's very difficult.
Well, it's difficult because oftentimes enemies will pop up from behind you, even, or the sides, and you're just not expecting it. You're not looking there.
And they shoot a lot.
A lot.
And they have flamethrowers, and they have grenade launchers.
Oh, yeah. The upgrades are pretty cool. You've got lasers and flame and a mix of spread and lasers.
That's right. They got the spread needle in here. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I forgot about mentioning the steroids that you could get in Bloody Wolf. And also the spread needle, but you could get your health from some of these crates. But if you find the one guy with the key very early in the beginning, you actually get this thing that will help give you a boost in your power. Wonder
it
what
was
that
the 80s.
could be.
It was fine. Jose Canseco,
Exactly.
40-40.
Never did it
on the juice.
That's right. Would you mind sticking this in my ass before I go out there to hit the baseball? It's so real. Let's talk more about Guerrilla War. It's by SNK, and it's got a lot of camouflage. Now, what else happens in here? You do fight vehicles.
The explosions are intense. They're huge explosions on the screen. When you're defeating a boss or a vehicle like a helicopter or a truck full of soldiers or whatever. And when you blow those things up, man, it could give you epilepsy. It's some serious explosions.
Some flicker happening.
Yeah.
There was line flicker, I think, too. Well, there wasn't Bloody Wolf. And I can't remember if there was in Guerrilla War. But in Guerrilla War, boy, is there some really cheap spots. Even if you have this set on easy, which I did later. After I got to the very end, and I did not beat the last boss.
The dictator.
And then the game said, game over.
Yikes.
At that point is where I made sure that my dip switches were set properly, and I made sure that I had a line of heroes off the screen before I got to the final dictator. Now, when you say you're Che, and who else?
Fidel Castro.
Oh, you're Castro? Mm-hmm. Are you the hero, SM?
You are the hero. You're trying to liberate the country from the dictator so that then That's right. The two of you can then imprison the country for decades and decades. That's the goal.
But the cigars.
Well, yeah, good cigars. Cuban baseball. It's another Jose Canseco. Shout out to Jose Canseco.
Real. I swear to God. I swear to God. Yes, you swear to God, yet you have no compulsion to teach evolution. Ha, ha. I'm talking about the movie Bananas. Have you ever seen the movie Bananas? Unfortunately, it's a Woody Allen movie. Oh. But if you could get past that, he plays a fake liberator of a country like a Che or someone in that position. And he puts on the mustache, and he does it to impress a girl, of course. But in the one part, he's on trial for crimes against the United States of America and stuff like that. And he gets very nervous, and he goes, I swear to God. Oh, there's this one lady that gets on there. Please state your name. And she's somewhat, not portly, but she's a little thick in a one-piece dress. She gets put on the stand, and they say, please state your name. And she says, I forgot. I think she says J. Edgar Hoover. I think that's what she says her name. So, it's
we talk games, nothing but game talk.
Well, this fits into Guerrilla War because he is in the Guerrilla War. It's a very underrated movie. Oh, it's got Mr. Drummond in the beginning, and Woody Allen is demonstrating this machine that's your desk at work that turns into a pulley system, and the barbells come down in the basketball hoop, and it's just a desk. It's a desk that turns into its workout system. And so it's very, very funny. Mr. Drummond trying to explain all this. And I think is this also the one where he's trying to buy I think it was called Spank magazine or something like that. But this girl keeps looking over at him, or this older lady, and he keeps pretending he's looking at Life magazine and all these other books, and then he finally gets to sneak it in after spending about $23 on other magazines. And we've all been there, friends. Have you been there?
I have not.
Really?
No.
See, I guess it must be a thing about people my age.
Yeah, I think I just missed the cutoff for that.
7-Eleven, they used to sell, they weren't X magazines, so they were R magazines. Then they started keeping them behind the counter, not just with paper bags on, but they kept them behind the counter. I'll never forget when I was a teenager and going in and asking for, can I have a copy of Oi magazine? Oi magazine. It was, of course, Oui magazine in French, but that's how much kids know about France and the French language, and not only being completely humiliated asking for a dirty magazine, but calling it Oi magazine. Thinking of the wrong country there. Guerrilla War, you also fight, you can get into tanks. Boy, I didn't last long in the tanks before that started overheating and blowing up.
Yeah, you get hit, and you get that noise that lets you know you got to jump out of that tank.
Yes. Yeah. And the same thing happens in Frontline. Now, the only thing really else that I want to talk about Guerrilla War is when you get to El Capitan. What's his name again? The dictator.
Yeah.
Yeah, the dictator.
I don't know his name.
So let's talk about fighting the dictator. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about, I should just give up.
He's throwing like a dozen hand grenades at you and lasers all at the same time.
But he's got a crew of cannon.
He has cannons up there with him. You have to destroy the cannons, and then you have to destroy him.
Which is almost impossible because they're shooting these giant bullets at you.
Like laser bullets.
I've never seen a boss so protected. There's a boss earlier in here where he's just a dude, and I don't know who it is. Is he a high-ranking general? But he's got a gang of fodder, other soldiers that will just come out and protect him. Mm-hmm. And you just keep killing people around him and then trying to hit him with a grenade or bullets. What I do recommend on these bosses is not trying to use your grenades as much as just trying to get out of the way of their bullets and having the auto fire on.
Yep.
If you have an emulator, turning on auto fire and just trying to beat them with
Pump
bullets.
them full of bullets.
But when you fight that helicopter, listen, I'm very good at shooter hell games. I can thread the needle, as it's called, but you cannot avoid some of these bullets.
No, you're going to die a lot in Guerrilla War. What's nice is the NES version has unlimited continues, and it never kicks you back.
Okay.
So you can suck, frankly, and you're going to beat Guerrilla War. It's just a matter of how many continues you're going to use.
Exactly. The trenches, or foxholes, as you might call them, you can go into there and bullets can't hit you, but you also can't hit people with bullets while you're in there.
Right, you have to throw a grenade in there.
However, for some reason, when they're in their mini tanks, they can hit you. The tank bullet goes over your head. Why can it hit you in the foxhole? Doesn't make sense.
No.
They can't grenade you in there. There's also these people that build to say something like that, and they build these barricades.
Yes.
And you can't walk through the barricades.
No.
You must grenade them. So as you're just trying to grenade these barricades to move on in the levels, you're getting hit from all different sides.
Yeah, by 100 different enemies.
And all different types of weaponry.
Let me ask you a question. I played this with my good friend since I was in the 3rd grade.
Okay.
Shout out to Salim. And we would play this game all the time. And I would try to save as many hostages as possible. And Salim was just, F it. We're just going to kill everything on the screen. I don't care.
And hit start again.
What kind of a player are you?
Well, I tried to save the hostages, but most of the time I would get killed. And if you get killed while you're headed towards a hostage, chances are that if you try to head towards them again, they're going to get murdered by your enemies. That's cruel.
It is.
It's really cruel. That's against the Geneva Convention, I'm pretty sure.
He's wanted for war crimes. It's fine.
Indeed. So this came out in 1987. What other game between 1987 and our Taito 1983? 1980. Oh, yeah, you're right.
82 for Frontline?
Yeah. Frontline 1982.
When did Gun.smoke come out?
Gun.smoke.
Gun.smoke.
This is how we avoid copyright laws, everybody.
Right.
You can call yourself Led.Zeppelin, but you can't.
Gun.smoke.
That is the most ridiculous trying to avoid copyright infringement I've ever heard of. But Capcom released their 1985, they released Gun.smoke. So 2 years before Guerrilla War came out.
It's similar in that you're constantly blasting away at enemies in Gun.smoke.
It's set in the West.
The West,
as
yeah.
the West was.
It's Guerrilla War in the Wild West.
But it is more like the Wild Wild West. Not as much tech going on. Now, I'm talking about the one with Robert Conrad, not the one with the giant robotic spider. I'm talking about the Wild Wild West TV show, which was, just blew my mind when I was a kid and everybody had to watch it. I think it was Bob Conrad in it. Well, I know he's in Baba Black Sheep, but I think it was him that was the lead in Wild Wild West. Regardless, it's more like that. You fight a ninja.
Yep.
At the end of the level, you fight a guy that does boomerangs. Mm-hmm. You fight a guy that does dynamite, and they call him Pig Face.
There's an American Indian chief in there, I believe.
Oh, there is. Yes, yep. There is. There is that as well, which, I guess is okay if you're of the F-troop idea of what the military did to the Native Americans. F-troop. It's another great one, but let's not get off on that. Let's just try to get rid of Gun.smoke because we can lump it in with Guerrilla War, I think. Instead of getting in a tank, you get on a horse. Mm-hmm. Things are coming at you from all directions.
All directions. All kinds of different weapons.
There's things that you can hide behind where people can't hit you and you can't hit them. And it's a little bit more fair on your grenade-y things because there are grenades in this, right?
Yeah, and I believe that similar to how enemies can get down into foxholes in Guerrilla War, enemies will lie down on the ground with rifles in Gun.smoke.
Yes.
And you can't hit them until they get up, unless you throw a grenade at them.
That reminds me about Guerrilla War. When you finally defeat the tank, you're like, yeah. And then you take a little respite for half a second.
Right.
And the dude that you just blew up in the tank jumps out of the tank.
He jumps out of the tank.
And peppers you with machine gun fire.
Yeah.
How many times did that dick do that to me? My God. So Gun.smoke, the people on the roofs, as opposed to people in Guerrilla War, I could not hit them with anything. Or one or the other. One of the games I couldn't hit the dudes on the roof. I couldn't reach them.
So Guerrilla War, there are some really hard ones to get. You have to hit them with perfect grenades in order to get them.
Okay. Then maybe the Gun.smoke, you could hit. Gun.smoke I did not finish. Gun.smoke I enjoyed. And Gun.smoke had a lot of jumping humpers in it. That's why I wanted to bring them up. Regular sized jumping humpers that would come after you with knives. But like in Guerrilla War, I spent a lot of time in Gun.smoke just trying to run as fast as I could past parts, taking out who I could, trying to leave behind people that didn't have a long firing range that weren't going to follow me. There's some parts where there's so many people in tanks in Guerrilla War that you have to try to go to one side of the screen, and it's a moving screen. It's not just one screen wide.
Yep.
Some of the vertical levels are about a screen and a half wide, so you can cut a path. Oh, and my God, in Guerrilla War, I got stuck in the bush.
Did you?
It was second level, and I already was pumping $10 a quarters into it. And my character would come up, and he would just be in the middle of the drawn jungle. And you couldn't do anything. You couldn't go back. You couldn't go forward. You couldn't go left. You couldn't go right. You couldn't grenade. You couldn't jump. You couldn't do anything to get out of that area. So, yeah, that pissed me off. What else about Gun.smoke? Gun.smoke is also a game where you could use the knob.
Yeah.
You could fire in all directions. That's why I wanted to bring it up as well. I wasn't able to get my front line working with the knob. I realized it was because if you're trying to emulate this, forget it. You're going to have a hard time. In fact, I had a hard time with Guerrilla War emulating it, but like I said, I turned on rapid fire, and what I had to do was I had to just use like the inside of my thumb on my hand, the thumb on my hand. I had to use in between the thumb and my index finger to move the joystick around as I used my left hand to do the buttons for firing and grenade, and then use my right hand to spin my arm in the different directions in 360 degrees. You can't do that in Frontline. It's just impossible because you're supposed to be able to fire in the direction that you're moving your joystick. Hey, maybe you're able to do it. Maybe I just didn't know how to do it at the time because I forgot how the buttons worked. There were no buttons on Frontline. There was just the spinner knob that you pushed to throw your grenade, and you would automatically fire in the direction that you were walking. And I can't remember how. Was it auto fire, or did you have to just keep pushing in it? I'd have to play it again. I think you might have done auto fire, but it might have been like kind of a piss poor delay on it. Anything else about Guerrilla War and Gun.smoke? I can't think of anything else about Gun.smoke.
Both games, and this is not the case, I believe, most of the time. Both games have fantastic home versions.
Yeah.
Both games on the NES play really, really well.
Frontline as well.
Yeah. Yep.
And I think it's because of the simplified controls.
I agree.
When they had to take away, and I usually don't say that because I love arcade controls. I mentioned to you, I don't like to play an arcade game if it has a steering wheel or if it has a spinner knob because I'm the only person that has these things now. Kyle has a rollerball, but we even stay away from some of those titles as well because a lot of people at home can't emulate that. But yeah, the home versions of these, I think, well, number one, they're easier, and the simplified controls, some of them make more sense.
I'll say this. Guerrilla War for the Nintendo is only easier in that you have unlimited continues. It's still a really hard game, and you die all the time. Gunsmoke for the NES is really hard, too. I die all the time in that game. Maybe I just suck at it, though. You might be a lot better at Gunsmoke than me. Gun.smoke.
Gun.smoke, everybody. It's a hard game. You know what? I don't know why I don't know more about this. I think it's because of the hyperventilation and doing the side straddle hops. Because I just played this last night. It's a vertical game as well. And I just remember riding a horse a lot. I remember not getting blown up on my horse.
Both games, the boss battles, I think, are excellent. They're a lot of fun. You're facing one formidable foe, and that person usually has helpers trying to protect them.
This is compared also to Commando, but I don't think so. I don't know why you would compare these games to Commando, except that you're doing a war type of thing. I don't think Commando had a control scheme like this.
Is Commando an overhead game?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't remember Commando.
Me either, and it's getting late. The only thing I hate about Commando is you don't fight Freddie Mercury like you do in the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. Stick around, hang around, let off some steam. I can't remember. I always used to say like Commando was the first time that they did those corny lines, but it really wasn't. There were a lot of old-timey movies that actually did those corny lines, and I really need to find out to talk about them. Commando was also a Capcom game. Maybe that's why they mention it. That came out in 1985, and Gun.smoke came out in 1985. Was Commando just a version of Gun.smoke, except
just
reskinned?
left on the director's floor?
The
stuff that wasn't good enough for Gun.smoke.
I have a feeling it was really like it. Commando, you were a lot stubbier and cuter, but I think you were kind of cute in Gun.smoke. But I don't think you got in any vehicles.
I can see how this game, Commando, is compared to Guerrilla War.
Guerrilla War, yeah, definitely.
For sure. Yeah, there's a lot of...
But I don't think to Gun.smoke.
No.
As much as to Guerrilla War.
You're moving around the way that you would in like Guerrilla War. In Gun.smoke, the whole world is moving vertical. You're moving up. And you can move around in that world, but it's moving up all the time.
We're talking about Gun.smoke. We're talking about Guerrilla.war. We're talking about video games. One arcade game a week here on We Talk Games. Only on We Talk Games. Don't forget to go to WeTalkGames.com. Go to In the Can, because you're going to find out any arcade game that you want. If you want to find out if we reviewed it, find it in there. And please go to Wiggly'sMiniMall.com, because... I don't know if I'm going to be able to do a show anymore. I might have to be selling these microphones. Thanks for joining me again, David Bruce Saba. Can we call you David Bruce?
David Bruce?
It's because of the Incredible Hulk.
Oh, geez.
They didn't want Bixby's name to be Bruce.
Okay.
They thought it was too... I want to use the lingo of the age, but at the same token, I don't want to, because this show hasn't been that type of jokey show. But they thought it was too effeminate, the name Bruce. Okay. Bruce Banner. So that's why they called him David.
You can call me David Bruce. It's fine.
I don't want to call you that. So thanks for joining me again. And anything interesting to plug?
No, one thing in Guerrilla War in the Nintendo version, you fight these twins. And you fight them a couple different times throughout the game. And there's no beating them. When you destroy whatever vehicle they're in, they just kind of spin you around and throw you. They throw you into the sewer. They throw you off the screen. They look like they're very roided up as well.
I'm going to hyperventilate again. I don't remember anybody ever throwing me in anything.
That's the Nintendo version.
I don't care. I played through both of these versions.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh, no. It's there. Pull it up.
Oh, my
God. The video.
I don't have anything to pull up on. I'm pretending that I'm not in front of a computer.
Yeah.
Don't break the illusion.
Right. You're going to cut all this out, right? You're not going to leave this in?
Guerrilla War, not too long.
No, it's a fairly short game.
POW, long.
Yeah.
Longer than it needed to be.
Way longer.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So far, what were the two things about Guerrilla War I don't remember happening? One was the twins, and what was the other one?
Where you're saving hostages in a train cart.
Yeah.
Flying around. With a whip.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to go down and play through this again.
That's a Nintendo version as well.
Okay, Dave, I'm going to play this. By the way, why don't you mention that NT?
The analog?
Analog.
Oh,
yeah.
Love the analog.
Now, do they call it NT for Ninty, as they do in England?
I have no idea.
The Nintendo's called the NT.
I think it's just for Nintendo. NT. I've got a lot of cartridges.
How do you get to analog site?
You just type in analog NT. I don't even know if they might be sold out. You might not even be able to buy one.
Okay.
They go for astronomical prices on the secondary market.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. I hope you like us. Bye-bye.
Bye.